Hello and welcome back to Hal Tech TV. Now I know we've been away about a month now, but we are back, and we are back with the SG05-Lite, and this is the white version. So we've got the video review. If you want to check out the written review or unboxing of this particular product, the links will be down below for those, so you can go check them out after the video. Or if you haven't seen the unboxing, probably watch that first. But yes, so this is the video review. So let's get in, and I'll tell you my opinions on this particularly small case. Okay, so before I start off the full review, going through the exterior, then the interior, and then my conclusion, I do want to say that this is the SG05-Lite, and there is 3 versions of the Lite. It is available in both white and black. Now you can get the original SG05, which comes with a 300 watt included SFX power supply. Or you can get a 450 watt version, which is only available in black, which comes with a 450 watt included power supply. Now the SG05-Lite is a new thing that they've been doing with quite a few cases, where they release it without an included power supply, so you can then go on and choose your own power supply. So basically there is kind of 3 options with 2 different colour choices to choose from, so you do have quite a bit of a range when it comes to the SG05. But yeah, so this is the SG05-Lite, and it's obviously, being the 2009 version, this is a little bit more updated in terms of a few things. So for example, it comes with USB 3. Now if you do get an older version, it might come with USB 2, so be aware of that when you're buying. Make sure that you're buying the one that you want. But yes, so moving on to the exterior, moving on to the actual review. The front fascia is plastic. Now, obviously, this isn't kind of the most expensive, most premium kind of case, so you do expect that, and I don't actually have a problem with it. I do like the texture. It's got a bit of a nice textured feel to it, and even though this is a super small case, you do still get a 120mm case fan, and that is the internal case fan to this case, and it is actually included along with it being dust filtered, although the dust filter is impossible to get to. Other than that, in terms of the front, we do have a power and reset switch. Now these aren't so much kind of pushy buttons, but rather clicky buttons, to be scientific. So yes, so you have your power and reset there, with the power button also housing the power LED, and then you have your hard drive LED, 2 USB 3, and then microphone and headphone jacks. So there isn't really that much special going on in the front. You also have your slim optical bay up here. Now this is obviously going to bring prices up when it comes to actually building the system, compared to just buying a 5.25-inch drive bay drive. Though you don't obviously have to populate that if you don't want to. Now, the only interesting thing that I really found about the front of this case was down here. Now down here there's a panel which can be removed, and that exposes a section right in the middle, which has a cutout both in the rest of the bezel behind it, and the actual chassis itself. Now there is no actual purpose for this. Now I did ask Silverstone, and I didn't really get any sort of reply about it, and it's essentially, you know, it's useless just for the normal guy. However, this seems like a perfect opportunity for you modders out there. So if you do want to add something in the front, you don't have to drill any holes or cut anything out. You do already have a cutout there for you to work with. Now in terms of the rest of the exterior, there isn't really that much to talk about. You do have on the left hand side, you've got a big grille here which has a bit of a weird kind of circular cutout. That will accommodate basically any sort of graphics card cooler or any sort of cooling that you plan on doing with this. And then on the right hand side you have a smaller one, which is basically where the exhaust is on most ITX cases. So think of that as your exhaust. And then on top we have another big cutout which again features the circular design. Now there is 2 little bumps here in kind of the punching. Now I believe that to just be because it's so large that when they punched it they kind of put two dents into it. Apparently this makes it stronger, and now it is slightly featured on the side panel. I don't know whether it is to make it stronger, or whether, you know, it's just something that happens in manufacturing and they claim it to be stronger. I don't know, but it's not a problem. Now here is basically the difference between the white versions and the black versions. Basically the white versions do not have painted interiors. I say that's the main difference. The main difference is that one's white and one's black. But in terms of the interior, you will not get a white painted interior, whereas on the black version you will get a black painted interior. So if you're going with the black case, that is good for you. But yes, so from the back you can obviously see you've got your SFX power supply location here, which does not feature a power supply because this is the light version, and then your Mini-ITX form factor casing kind of options with two PCI slots, which is good for your graphics cards if you're going to go with that. So that is basically the exterior, guys. So let's move on to the interior, or halfway into the interior, as I like to call it, before we actually get onto the interior of the case. Okay guys, so I'm going to attempt to do this on camera because it's quite hard, and I'm actually going to prove that to you, hopefully, in doing so, as this is a review. So basically, I'm now at the side here. Removing certain parts and components from each other in this case is the biggest issue with this case, and that's simply because it's a 2009 design, and compared to what we're used to, it's a little dated in how things connect and add up. And these are little things that you wouldn't have noticed have changed over the years, but looking back onto a case like this, you will notice that you know, not just compared to like 2.5 inch drive bays over 3.5 inch, and so on. There's other things that have gone on in adaptations and improvements on cases that have gone unnoticed. So the first thing is basically the case panel is actually quite hard to remove. Now that was actually quite easy this time compared to the last time. Now I have unscrewed these bits for the sake of making it easier for it to review, but we'll get onto that in a second. Now the other part that's hard to remove is the front panel to get at the dust filter. Now as you can see right here, in fact, you know what, I'll just remove all of this stuff for now. You will notice that you've got two here, two there, and then two there of these clips. Now that is everything that you need to remove the front panel. Now compared to newer cases where you would just have to, you know, pull it and it would pop off, this is a big hassle, and it's actually quite complicated to do because you unhook one and then you unhook the other, and it's somehow by then the other one's already hooked itself back on. So yeah, that's a bit of a hassle. And before we continue on with the review, I'm actually going to remove the front fascia. So there we go, I've removed it, and you can see right here, you can see where I was talking about. This little plate here is removable, and that is perfect for you guys who want to do some modding out there. Now, before I continue on with the actual internal of the case, I do want to go and point out that if we bring this in, I don't know if you can see, basically all of the front panel I/O is non-removable. It's all soldered on or glued on. Now there is certain things, for example audio cables, which are actually normally removable, but some manufacturers choose to glue them on when they've attached them just so that they don't fall out. Now for Mini-ITX cases, this is for me a personal issue because I like to be able to remove them as I'm building the case, because then you've got one less cable to worry about. But really the only issue with this is a personal issue when building the system. When it comes to actually using this system, it's not a problem at all. Plus you can actually just remove the glue anyway, so not so much an issue, just a personal kind of annoyance. But yes, so moving on to the rest of the internal of the case. So right now it's basically in its skeleton form, and you can see a few things. So you can see that the filter is removable from the front. That's basically impossible to remove when you've actually got your system built, so I wouldn't bother actually trying to remove that. I'd rather just hoover the case from the front. But yes, everything here is not really necessary to the review because there's nothing to talk about. But what I do want to talk about is these bits right here. So we've got this little guy and this little guy. Now these are the hard drive cages, optical cages and whatnot. So you do get a slim optical drive bay, a 2.5-inch drive bay and a 3.5-inch drive bay, and they are actually, like I was talking about before, hard to connect together. I think I've done that. Okay, no I haven't. But basically, okay, I'm not gonna do that. The 3.5-inch cage is removable. You don't need to use that if you don't want to. If you're going to be going with a 2.5-inch drive bay, that comes down below here, just there, and then you've got your slim optical bay on top. So my thoughts on this, again, I don't particularly like the old design in the sense that like you saw before, they're hard to remove. But what I do like is the fact that you don't need to have the 3.5-inch drive bay there if you don't want to. But then again, the 2.5-inch drive bay is most likely going to be used nowadays, at least, when using things like SSDs and stuff for your operating system. But you know what? Let's put the case to one side and let's talk about this, because this is the thing that excites me about basically the interior. What you see here is some cable management holes, and then you see all of these other holes around here. Now for me, this is a perfect opportunity for things like modding, things like adding extra things in, hiding little things down in little places. So you have a channel down here, and you've got a channel down here. Again, if you're not using the 2.5-inch drive bay, if you're still on 3.5-inch drive bays for your operating system, and you don't want to boot SSD or whatever, you've got a little channel here, or well, you do anyway, a little channel down there. So for me, this is a perfect opportunity to hide cables, tie things up, add extra things like cathodes, and have them just, sitting on the edge or whatever, and really, add little things in. So for me, this is a perfect opportunity to really use your imagination, and I like that about the case. I like that about any case that really gets me thinking in this way, even though they are little simple things that aren't really necessary, or for those of you out there who aren't really into that kind of thing, it's not necessary to even think about, but for guys like me out there, it's little things like this which really make a case interesting and a pleasure to actually work with. So that's my thoughts on the internal of the case, which is really quite simple with it being a Mini-ITX. So I will move on to my conclusion. So I'm sorry, I forgot to point out a few figures to do with this particular case. So it can take 82mm high CPU coolers, and it can take graphics cards up to 254mm in length, I believe it is. So 25.4cm graphics cards. Now, those two figures are a perfect way to lead on to the conclusion, and my conclusion is very simple. Basically, if you can handle the 2009 design, it's a perfect case to go with. So while you do get kind of annoying little things like it's hard to remove the case cover, it's hard to take off the front panel, the dust filter isn't easily removable, those are just kind of little annoying little things. But on the inside of this, I believe it's a 10.6 litre volume case, you get a case that's more capable than some bigger cases out there, and some newer cases, to be honest. So for example, if you aren't going to be using any hard drives at all, if you aren't going to be using the optical drive, you can take all of them out and it becomes a water cooling capable case because of the 120mm intake fan. And then also the fact it can take 82mm high CPU coolers, simply down to the fact it's got an SFX power supply in, is a lot higher than even larger cases, because they will take ATX power supplies, which take up a lot more space. And obviously in this kind of form factor, the only thing that basically is going to get in the way is CPU coolers, because the power supplies always seem to go on top. So yeah, for a case this small, it's a lot more capable than larger cases. An example, I don't really like bringing up examples, but an example is the Elite 120 Advanced that we did previously review. This can take larger CPU coolers. It can't take longer graphics cards, obviously, because it's smaller, but it's water cooling capable, which the Elite 120 isn't. So overall, it's an amazing case, and we are actually going to be using it on 2 different projects. We like it that much. So basically, if you can get round the older design, and if you like having a bit of a challenge, it is a nice case to go with. And that is all I have to say, so I'm going to say goodbye. So that was the video review of the Silverstone SG05-Lite, and this is the white version. Obviously, as I've already said, you know, you've got the light, and then you've got the normal one, and then you also have the 450-watt version as well. So, like I've already said in the conclusion, this isn't just the only available option that you've got. So if you are looking to buy it, obviously, you know, prices will differ. And if you see one that's in Britain, for example, if you see one that's £100, it's not the light version, it's one that comes with a power supply. But yes, that was the video review of the Silverstone SG05-Lite. I'm Hal Thompson, you've been watching another Hal Tech TV video. Don't forget to subscribe, and goodbye.